Hey, gun people. I'm gonna do a.
Hi, Loki. You having coffee with Dad? Oh my goodness.
We're gonna talk about this issue that keeps coming up, and I don't know how to explain it to where it makes sense to the average person who doesn't have to deal with life or death situations, split-second decisions. The issue is, why don't people shoot people in the legs, in the knees? Why didn't they use the taser? Why didn't they use the rubber bullet gun? Why didn't they use the baton? Why didn't they tack? You need to understand, and like I said, I got no problem cracking on cops when they do something wrong. But you need to understand, when cops are faced with a situation with limited information, most of the time false, bad, or incorrect information, and they're responding to something in strange environment. They don't know the pros, the cons. They're in unfriendly environments. They don't know whether they have help or assistance. They don't know if they have good people that like the cops, or if they're going in an area that's nobody likes the cops and everybody's gonna, might take a chance to throw a rock, take a snipe at them, back up the bad guy, come and help the bad guy if you get in a fight. So all these factors determine why cops do what they do. I mean, I've told you before, and I mean, I could have shot, God, I mean, 100, well, I don't know, probably close to 100 people, if not more, if I wanted to, and it would have been legally justified. Okay? Cops don't want to shoot people. I mean, I just can't tell you. I mean, it's like somebody going to war. You don't want to go out and just kill people, and it's just not normal. So all the people that think cops are out there shooting up people, and it's brainwashing by the left media, getting people, to turn people against, keep people divided so they can't concentrate on the crooked politicians. So if we're fighting the black and the white and the Muslim and the white, there's some threats out there and there's bad people, but that's not, I'm okay. That's not what it's all about. When cops go to calls, we don't want to shoot people and we don't want to get shot. And those are two sides that are very conflicting, because we go to calls that most people don't go to. We go to calls when people are hiding in their house on the phone, calling 911 for us to go to. Now, I'm by no means trying to make cops as these superhuman heroes, and we're great, and we go into danger, and we're firefighters, and people should kiss our ass, and they should all thank us, and they should all give us free shit, and we should be put on a pedestal. I'm not promoting that at all. I'm just saying, from being there, being in that situation so many times, the last thing a cop wants to do is shoot somebody. It's just, there's no upside. There is absolutely no upside. You have to deal with it psychologically, mentally, morally, administration-wise, policy, news media, politically wise. Politicians are going to try to be making points. You have to deal with the racial issue, whether it was a Muslim, whether it was a white guy. I mean, white cops deal with that a lot more. You don't see black guys getting in trouble for shooting white people. You don't see Muslims getting in trouble for robbing, beating, or killing white people. It's only white people that have to live with the stigma that everything we do, that anybody that is white, we're suddenly wrong. So you have all these factors. You have the laws that are written in books by the thousands, millions of words. You have case law coming out every year that changes the laws that are there and modifies what words mean and what doesn't this mean and what that means. You've got Supreme Court rulings that override some state laws, and some state laws override federal laws. You have all these issues. Then you get to departments, and each state is different. Each county and city can have different policies and enforce further restrictions on when you can use force. I mean, I've been in agencies that you pull your stick out and you have to stick a few guys, and they leave and you leave, no harm, no foul, move on. I've been to other agencies, if you even pull your stick out and threaten to hit somebody, you've got to write paper and justify why you did that and why you shouldn't have done that, etc. What does that do when you force cops to do paperwork for things like that? And there's some agencies out here, if you pull your gun, you have to write a report. That's absolutely ridiculous. The last thing you need to do to cops is put more obstacles, more options, more things that a cop has to consider before he has to choose to use his gun. Because the mind just gets overloaded. I mean, just think about it. You can't get 9 Supreme Court judges to agree on anything that comes up. Everybody's like, oh, well, the law is the law, and it's written in the law, and we have rights in the Constitution, and if you read it, it means that. I mean, it means nothing. Because when it gets up to the Supreme Court, you have 9 people that can't agree, and it usually comes down to 5 of them agreeing one way and 4 agreeing the other way. But yet the poor smuck citizen or this poor smuck cop has to make all these split-second decisions in a nanosecond, and they have to decide whether they're going to live or die. And a lot of times they decide, I better err on the fact that I want to live. I don't want to shoot. Again, the main focus of cops is to go home with the same number of holes that you came to work with. Okay? You don't want to go home with a few extra holes. It just doesn't work out well. So when cops are making these decisions and all these people are like, why didn't a cop do this? Why didn't a cop do that? Why? Because the cop is constantly reevaluating. I talk about the thing calling about lag time. That lag time, a lot of birds flying around out here. So, you gonna go get Dad some dinner? You gonna go catch Dad a little dinner? Lag time is that decision process. And lag time is increased or decreased by preparedness or lack of preparedness. Okay? Lag time is when you're driving a car, when you see the light turn red, that split second it takes you to say the light's red, I'm supposed to stop, the law says I'm supposed to stop, if I don't get stopped I'm going to get hit. Let me take my foot off the gas, put it on the brake, and slowly control the car to stop. That's lag time, that decision. That's one thing that is routine that you do every day, and it's almost done without thinking. It's become muscle memory for your foot to come off the gas and onto the brake. But that lag time is that decision process. I'm coming up to the intersection, I see brake lights on a hill. Should I slow down now, or are they just hitting their brakes? I wonder if there's an accident on the other side of the hill. I wonder if there's a cop on the other side of the hill. I wonder if there's some dummy just driving the fast lane that didn't pull over. Okay, I have a lot of time to decide this. I'm pulling up to the hill. I'm still deciding on whether or not I should start slowing down or whether I stay the speed I'm going. As you get close enough and you notice cars aren't moving, you hit the brakes, you slow down, you start. At that point you decide, before you decide is that process that the mind goes through on the correct response. And when you're coming up the hill, there's not a lot of different responses. I see brake lights, I see an accident, I see a cop. My choices are, I slow down, I speed up and I have a wreck, or if I keep going the same speed, I'm going to have to pull off the side of the road or brake abruptly and maybe get rear-ended. So there's not a lot of choices, but there's still that decision process that you have to make on that one simple thing. I cannot cover the complexity and the multitude of options that a cop has and he has to go through when he goes to a scene. I'm worried about, am I authorized to be there? Am I on private property? Am I on public property? Is this the right house? Am I at the wrong house? Is this going to be a white guy or a black guy? Because the black guy, I'm probably going to get in trouble. Is there a video camera? Cops shouldn't care if there's a video camera, but it's in their mind. Anything, any information that's in their mind creates that lag time. It creates that thought process. It extends that thought process to create more lag time. The more options and factors that I need to put in to my decision process makes me slow down. Oh, you got a little monkey. Oh. So when a cop's deciding all this, the last thing you want to do is throw in more options. And the public and the politicians and the lawyers and the people that do not have to deal with this on a daily basis seem to think it's easy if we pass a new law every 3 weeks and a new policy and a new Supreme Court decision and a new circuit appeals decision. The Ninth Circuit ruled this way, but it's probably going to get overturned, So in 6 months it's going to be different, but for right now they just changed what we've been doing for the last 3 years. So now we have to follow what the Ninth Circuit did, and then we have to wait for it to become overturned before we can go back to what we were doing. And then when it's overturned, they're probably going to change what we were doing, so we'll have to relearn that. And that's one case. And there's a multitude of cases out there. So use of force is one of those issues that it's just, you have to, look at a spanking. You have to understand that all these processes are going on in a split second, and a cop's got to decide, if I shoot this guy, am I authorized? Am I wrong? Am I complying with policy? Am I complying with the law? Is there other options? Should I use other options? How long do I think about this? How long do I have to contemplate this? If I'm wrong, I'm dead. If I'm right, great. Nobody cares. Everybody moves on. I still have this stress. These decision processes create a huge amount of stress because it's all changed when you go into fight or flight. I talk about flight or flight syndrome, that fear response, that response where your heart rate jumps at 200 beats per second, you get tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, you're thinking about survival, your brain goes down to primitive thinking. It's even harder to process all these policies and legal decisions when your brain goes back to, it's not like I'm in a classroom, I'm some lawyer sitting in my office on a Monday morning going, let's review this tape of what these cops did. You know what, pull up that case law, pull up that case law, let's pull up this cop's record, let's pull up the departmental policy, let's do all this, and 6 months later they come up, a cop made a bad decision. Well, no shit. You're never going to get a perfect situation for a cop to make the right decision when you have all these multitude of things going on. So, I don't know why I have this phone on me, but I guess I do. So, when people say cops should shoot people in the leg, they should shoot them in the shoulder. Now, I just went through one scenario that makes that very unlikely, and the probability of success slim to none and slim left town. So you put all the decision process, now you get in to what option do I use? After I consider all these different cases and laws and policies and administrative hearings and overturns and court and new case law and new laws that have been written this year and passed, after I consider all that, now I decide whether I'm going to use my gun, my nightstick, my taser, my pepper spray, my expandable baton, whether I'm going to use my hands-on, whether I want to tackle this guy and try to go hands-on and fight him, or should I stand back and use one of these weapons, or should I draw my gun? So now we have all these decisions and processes that we got to contemplate in there. And remember, I'm sitting here on this video for the last 15 minutes trying to tell you what goes on, usually in 2 to 3 seconds for a cop. And it's just the last thing a cop wants to do is when I draw my gun, now I have to decide where I want to shoot the guy. Do I want to shoot him in the foot? Do I want to shoot him in the pinky toe? Do I want to shoot him in the finger? Do I want to shoot him just in his left ear? Do I want to shoot the gun out of his hand? Maybe I should just shoot the knife right out of his hand. Maybe if I shoot him in the big toe, he'll start jumping around, he'll drop the gun. Maybe if I shoot him in the knee, he won't come after me. Maybe I'll miss. Maybe if I shoot him in the hip. Maybe if I shoot him in the shoulder. When a cop is in a fight or flight situation, he's in what the courts have ruled a rapidly evolving and changing dangerous situation. When you're in that environment, you cannot expect perfect decisions. You can't expect complicated legal analysis decisions made in a split seconds on a life or death situation. Cops are not taught to shoot in a leg, finger, toe, etc. Can they? Yes. Should they? Maybe. Is it practical? Absolutely not. The problem with shooting for small areas is, first of all, cops miss 85 to 90% of the time when they shoot. They're like, oh, cops are trained. They need more training. They should shoot better. They need to practice more. They should have better sights. They should have lasers. That's not the point. The reason why cops miss so much is we are reacting to someone's action. And reaction is always slower than action. Bad guys get to pick when they're going to act, how they're going to act, what they're going to use, when they're going to do it. They have no recourse. They know the advantage. They have all the advantage. Cops are at the complete disadvantage. We don't know when, how, why, or if they're going to act. We have to guess. We have to kind of read body. We have to try and anticipate. We have to try and formulate what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, or with them. We have to do all that on a split second every time a suspect changes his mind. Suspect may go for a gun. He may stop going for a gun. He may actually pull the gun out. He may drop the gun. He may raise the gun up. He may turn and talk to us. He may point it to someone else. He may shoot it in the ground. All these decisions that he makes, cops are waiting to evaluate when and at what point can I shoot. And when I shoot, am I authorized? Am I compliant? Am I doing all this? So all these factors get in there, and now you got people out there saying, why can't cops shoot him in the finger? Why can't you shoot him in the hand? Why can't you shoot their earring off? Why? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. We miss 90% of the time when we're shooting for center mass. Cops are trained to shoot for center mass, the largest target available. Why? Because no one is an expert. No one hits all the time. And most people can't hit all the time when they're in a range, secure, safe, sterile environment to where they can just sit there and practice and aim. You still don't hit 100% of the time. And you want cops to hit 100% of the time when we're fighting, running our heart rates up, we're in fight or flight, we're complying with policy, legal laws, administrative hearings. I mean, all this shit's going on, and you want cops to hit 100% of the time. And then, now, you want cops to start shooting for pinkies and hands and knees and ankles and pockets and or shoot the knife out of the hand. I mean, some of the comments when people say that, I'm just like, you really have no stinking clue. It just amazes me that people can believe that. And I understand how they can believe it because they haven't had to deal with it. And if you aren't in, people are always complaining, cops shouldn't be judging cops. Cops shouldn't be evaluating. You need a certain level of expertise in order to make a rational, educated decision on the actions of somebody who does a job. It would be like having a plumber do a house inspection on, I don't know, electrical wiring or roofing, when he has no idea, but he's in the business of building houses. He does the plumbing work. So when there's a roof problem, we should have a plumber and ask his expert opinion, because he's in the building district or he's in the building arena, on what this guy did wrong with the roof. Plumber's not going to know. He may know, he may have some experience, but he doesn't do roofs all the time. No more than a roofer would tell you how the plumber screwed up. So that's why cops have to be in the process of evaluating what and why cops do what they do. Because they live in the environment and they understand it. Doctors evaluate doctors when they mess up. Lawyers evaluate lawyers, and judges evaluate judges when they mess up. You need that kind of core understanding of information. I'm not defending it. I think there's better ways to do internal investigations. I don't think cops ought to be investigating cops within their own department. That's where my big fallacy is. Because you have to work with these guys, you have to rule against them, rule for them, etc. I think outside cops that don't have to go to work with these same guys they're evaluating should be doing internal affairs. Some agencies do that. They send, I've talked about this in another video, they send a cop from each agency, they get in an internal affairs team, and no cop ever investigates his own agency. He only investigates other agencies. So if this agency has a problem, 2 or 3 of the cops that were pulled from all these agencies, they evaluate this agency because they don't have to go back and work with these guys. It takes out that little peer pressure that depending on the person later, that, hey, I'm filming over here. So that's the problem with, when people are saying cops shouldn't evaluate. So I guess my main point of this video is, you have to understand the multitude of complications that goes on when a cop is on scene, when he's got bad information, he don't know what's going on, he's waiting for the suspect to react, he's trying to comply with policy, he's trying to comply with law, he's trying to comply with case law, he's trying to comply with new law, he's trying to comply with changing law that was different last week than this week, and now he has to make a split decision in a strange area in the middle of the night with low light conditions, fighting a guy he knows nothing about, he has no history or nothing. And now you want him to throw into and we already know that cops miss almost 90% of the time when they shoot because they're reacting, they're in fear, they're shooting, they're trying to save their life. They shoot multiple rounds because they're usually in so much fear and they got caught by surprise. They've got to stop the guy in a split second And we know that multiple hits on target does not stop somebody. On my site, I have a picture of a guy shot 33 times with a 9mm. His whole chest looked like he was shot with a shotgun. And they were 9mm rounds, and the guy was still able to fight and resist. So we know that bullets do not stop people. 1 bullet doesn't stop, 2 doesn't stop, 33 bullets do not stop somebody. If they're on drugs, if they're hamped up on drugs, PC3 drugs, if they're mentally ill, there's all kind of complications on how they're going to react when they're shot. So people are saying, why did they shoot 3 times? Why didn't they just shoot once and see what happens? Because in a second that you shoot once and you go, wow, I wonder if I hit him, I wonder if he's going to stop, I wonder if he's going to get to me, you're dead. Great. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Cops don't want to go out there playing, maybe I should shoot once and see if I hit him, see if it stops, see if my bullet worked, and then I'll evaluate and see if I have to shoot again. Because you're dead. It's too late. So understanding that complexity on what cops have to do to try to add to that and say, you know what? We want you to start shooting for ankles, fingers, earlobes, and toes so we don't kill people. That's just liberal minutia BS. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy that someone with 2 freaking brain cells couldn't put it together and figure out, hey, that's just not reasonable. That's not reasonable for a guy who's got time to sit back. I mean, even snipers sitting, 100 yards away on top of a rooftop evaluating are still waiting for the okay to shoot, and they're ready to shoot whenever they get the okay. But they're not up there on their own just going, what if I shoot him now? Yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't. In the middle of negotiations, if a sniper just shot a dude, do you think there'd be some problems? Sure. But he's at a point of safety. He can aim that gun. He can relax his breathing. He's not in immediate danger. He's in no threat. It's much easier for him to make a shot in that. If all cop shootings were by law had to be 300 feet away before you could shoot and nobody could pull a gun on a cop and we lived in a stupid liberal fantasy land, well then I would agree you could put all these standards and be very specific because there's no reason for the urgency. But when you've got a cop confronting an armed person within arm's reach or within talking distance, because we have to be able to talk to people, figure out what's going on. When you've got somebody reacting like that and they can pull a knife, a gun, a club, even if they get to you with nothing in their hands, if they grab your throat, if they have any training at all, they can take their thumbs and punch your eyes out, you're pretty much out of the fight. If somebody takes both thumbs and grabs you by the head and just shove their thumbs in your eyes, you're not going to be able to do a whole bunch. People go, oh, you shot the poor unarmed man. He didn't have any gun. Just because somebody doesn't have a weapon doesn't mean they're not a threat and they can't immobilize you or take away your ability to defend yourself. So, I hope it makes it a little bit clearer. When you add all these things up, cops are already missing 90% of the time when we're shooting for large areas because of the stress and the multitude and the complication of decisions we have to make in a split second. And now, to even suggest that cops should be shooting pinky toes and pinky fingers is just ludicrous to me. But you know what? People are going to believe what they want to believe. And that's my spiel on why cops don't shoot people in fingers. Hope that works out for you there. Moki, you're a good boy.